Goodfellow, and I am the program manager of The Pitch. For those of you that haven't come across The Pitch before, we're a national program of startup support. We're here today to talk about business resilience, so how you can build your own resilience and grow on your journey as a business owner. I've been running a company now for 5 years, and it's certainly been a journey in terms of learning, building my skills and resilience. So, there have been highs and lows, whether it comes to making sales, losing customers, hiring amazing team members, and then to have them move on. So that journey is something that takes time, and over your experience running a business, it's something that you can build. So we really want to dig into that today and share some practical advice on how you can advance yourself and improve the way that you work in your business. I'm joined today by Catherine Wright from Vodafone, and I'll get her to introduce herself in a moment. Vodafone are a partner of the Pitch this year, and they run an amazing initiative called VHub, which offers free coaching sessions for entrepreneurs. So if you are looking for help, just visit the Pitch homepage or look in the show notes, and we'll include a link to that. And we'll give you a little bit of a reminder and more details at the end of the episode as well. So Catherine, it'd be great if you could start by just giving us a brief introduction to who you are, and then we'll get into the discussion.
Hi, Christopher. It's lovely to meet you. I am Catherine Wright, yes, and I am from Vodafone. Been here 4.5 months. My background for the last 27 years is in telecommunications. I currently head up the small to medium enterprise account management business who support our small to medium enterprise customers.
Amazing. And let's start with like a big picture question. Like, how do you define resilience, and how do you think it impacts the founders that you've worked with over the years?
Yeah. So firstly, I think anybody who sets up their own business can already demonstrate they have resilience, because no doubt there's been times prior to setting up their own businesses, they've had setbacks and they've bounced back from it. But I think some of the main factors are when you have a setback, making the change, how you overcome those difficulties is super important too. So having resilience is not only important in business, but it is super important in your personal life as well.
Perfect. And when you think of both your own career and the entrepreneurs that you've helped in the past, like what are there any kind of practical steps people can take to improve their business resilience and kind of how they operate?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a few factors that I would always consider or give advice for people to consider. As you said, I have worked with some very successful business owners over the last 27 years. Latterly, in the last 7 years, their background and experience was second to none, and they ran very, very successful businesses in a very hard sector. But I also worked in construction engineering for 12 years as well, and saw these common themes all of the time. So the first one is financial planning. What I would say with the entrepreneurs I worked with, they'd always thoroughly planned their financial model, which it was always clearly indicated the timeline to profitability, because that's super important. It also allowed them to create clear plans that were thought out, and it mitigated risks for them. There tends to be always a pinch point when you start up your own business, and it's really about thinking that through and how you mitigate risks when that happens and plan for success. So I think that would be the first one, financial planning. The second one is all around the people. So having a really strong team with varied strengths is super important. It does provide you the right insight to create a clearer strategy. It also outlines risks. It gives you the ability to have contingencies, because it's always needed in business. And importantly, the people should have really clear direction and understanding of what they're accountable for. An example of that actually in Vodafone is we do have a clear 18-month plan. It's super clear, and it's all about making things simple, helping businesses grow and our business grow, and everything we do for our customer in mind is around our plan. And then there's some phases in there as well. So there's 3 phases in the 18-month plan, which are every 6 months, and they're all centered around customers. And that is what I would suggest for all of the business owners, understanding their customers. So our first one is future of smart working. So an example would that be the change for hybrid working, the productivity debate and how you deal with that. Second is operating with less. So examples of that would be talent challenges that are happening at the moment and absolutely rising costs. So the future of smart working is our first phase, and that's just been completed. We then move into second phase, which is sustainable business growth. So that's all around the path to net zero, for example, complying and evolving regulations and reducing costs that are critical. And that's super important for all businesses at the moment. So that's our second phase. And then our third phase is powering up productivity. And that's really about transformational technologies. So affordable and accessible technologies. And I think everywhere people are talking about AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning solutions, and not forgetting fast networks, so how people can work more productively through 5G. So that, for example, in Vodafone is the plan, and it's really, really important to have a plan. And then the last thing for me that I would suggest also for founders is around outward looking. So I think as human beings, we will automatically look at what we know, what we understand. And when we start to build an organisation or a company, we will inward look at how we evolve things. I think it's super, super important to not just be inward looking, but also very much outward looking. So, for example, it allows you a space to understand the market, the environment, the customers that you need for change. And it also will allow you to adapt, but adapt quickly. So I would say that those are the three factors for me, which would help founders.
Yeah, and I really like that because you're talking about kind of getting processes in place, particularly on the finance side, to make your business more robust, give you a better understanding, but then also like looking outside of your organization and kind of planning for the future and building resilience that way.
Yes.
I think it's worth saying on the finance side too, like, you will always take knocks. You might lose a customer or have a bad debt, or there might be something happening in the world that you have absolutely no control over. But, just by virtue of having that cash flow forecast, of understanding your burn rate and the key figures in your business and kind of keeping that really up to date, you can react quicker, right? And it is often that case of, actually, if you spot something 2 weeks earlier or 3 weeks earlier that's going to be an issue, that buys you much more time to deal with it and therefore builds your business resilience. So I do think, getting those key financial documents and processes in place is so, so crucial. And we wanted to talk about advice as well and kind of how you build your skill base up. And I wondered, first of all, like how important it is to kind of look to the peer group and other business owners to get that feedback.
Yeah. I couldn't sort of say how important it is because it is so, so super important. The last 27 years, all of my successes didn't come from within. You absolutely need all of the will, but you need skill and experience around you. And I have had quite a lot of experience in building and collaborating with people. But we are all human, and our natural instinct is to have a bias. And we tend to gravitate to those most like us. Now, in the last 10 years of my 27 years, the one thing that has been super important for me is getting myself a little bit outside of my comfort zone and leaning into other groups of people who I normally wouldn't do that, who I normally wouldn't spend my time with. It did take me some time, to be honest, to be able to do that. But the benefits of doing that outweigh the fact that you're not used to something and getting out of your comfort zone. It took me some time to understand these different types of people and how they work. But what it allowed me to do was see situations and obstacles and how to overcome them through a different lens, because you can't, one person with one viewpoint can not always solve all the problems. Some examples of that, I joined a committee and it really gave me insight into how different people and business owners operate and how they work, what's important to them, what really makes them tick and how they overcome things. I also made a choice to change the mentor that I had. I'd had the same mentor for quite some time. And I think we both agreed we got to a point where we were ready for change ourselves. And I picked a mentor this time very, very different to me. But what that allowed me to do is see things through, as I say, a very, very different lens. So I think that's super important. I think you did touch at the beginning, Christopher, about VHub, and I can't reinforce how important VHub is, and how that will help small businesses and business owners. It's something I'm really super proud of, and one of the reasons I wanted to join Vodafone. It really helps businesses understand their digital landscape. That's our area of expertise. It sort of looks at digital topics and allows you to set yourself up for the future. It is quite unique in the market. There's a helpline, for example, with business advisors on the other end of the phone. So being a founder can be a bit lonely and a little bit confusing. So our advisors really help those founders through a wide range of different digital topics.
Yeah, that makes sense. And out of interest, like, are you able to say kind of where you find your mentors or how those relationships came about?
Over the years, I found different types of people. So not just in business, I lean into people sort of outside of work as well. So for example, outside of work is when I joined a committee. And I was just a little bit brave. As you get older, I think you're able to do that a little bit more and you get comfortable in your own skin. So I leant in and started to speak to people, and where I come from was really important to me. And I think then things happen because you'll contact people, they see your passion. So that's how I joined my committee. And then the mentor that I had within work and business, it was just somebody I observed. I observed somebody doing something very differently to me, but in a very, very effective way. So that intrigued me. So I approached them. And actually, most people, if you approach them, will absolutely support and help you.
Yeah, there's a couple of points I'd love to pick up on there. So I think it, is really interesting how over, a couple of years of starting a business or building a career, you do have different mentors and those relationships evolve. So the person that's right for you in the first 12 months of trading might not be for the forwards. I think it's important to kind of recognize that. And also you made a great point there about how actually people are really open to helping. And it's great when you can both do mentoring and be mentored and just having that confidence to reach out and just, start a conversation with somebody that you admire. I think that's a really powerful idea.
Thank you.
Yeah. The other thing I'd maybe think about as well is like the types, certainly as a founder of mentor that you talk to, because I think there's kind of, for me in my journey, there's been two main types of people that sort of help me with advice. And there's kind of the people around me at the business stage I'm at that have really been able to, or they're kind of just ahead of me, maybe, a year or two ahead of me. And they really have the context of what it's like to be in the trenches and maybe even in my industry. And therefore, they've basically done what I've done before and can help me with those challenges and unpick them. But the other kind of type that I maybe speak to a bit less that can be useful is kind of people that are even further ahead or like you say, a completely different industry where they can kind of bring a context and help you think in a totally different way, right? And that's been transformational, just as somebody to put thoughts in my head that are a bit bigger and not kind of limited by the here and now and the constraints I'm in. You're like, okay, well, actually, where could this go in 2 years? And to really ask you some bigger questions. And that having both of those types really helps on the resilience, because it means that you're dealing with the challenges short term, but you're also thinking about, okay, where's this all heading? What could the vision be? How can I build a roadmap like the one you described? So I found that really useful as well. And I definitely recommend that for founders. Is there anything else you want to say there about the peer group particularly? I mean, we talked about sort of specific mentors or individuals and the community, but anything else on the general peer group?
What I tended to find as well with the entrepreneurs that I worked with, as soon as you build some trust, then people will start to actually break down barriers with each other. When you remove the egos, including your own, because I think we all do have some, don't we? When you remove them, and then people start, if you create an area of trust and a safe space, and most people can feel that once they get it. I think that's also super, super important, because then you really truly start to learn and understand and find people who you're not in competition with sometimes as well, because people who you tend to not be in competition with, maybe not the same sector as you touched on, is a really, really good way to understand how other people work. And absolutely, you also touched on, and I would reinforce that, if somebody's already been through the journey you're about to go on, lean into them and ask them. And they will absolutely support you. Most people will absolutely want to help other people. And for myself, when I've mentored or supported people, there's no better feeling than see somebody succeed on the back of some advice that you've possibly given. So I think that's also really key.
I love that. So you're always kind of both being mentored by someone that's slightly further ahead of you and then mentoring people that are a couple of years, earlier on in their career.
Absolutely.
Yeah, really, really good. And that kind of brings us naturally onto the question we want to talk about business processes and kind of what people can introduce to improve the resilience in their startups.
Yeah. So I think anybody who's ever known me knows I love a good process. My first role in telecommunications was in service. So there were the foundations that I built. And I don't think you should ever forget where you started and your foundations. So that's another piece of advice I would always give. It's always held me in good stead. But everything we launch in the role I do today is for our customers. How we engage with our customers, how we excite and delight them, as I say to people. But it's all underpinned with a good, robust process. So it's really important to take the time to do that. I know, no doubt, quite a lot of founders, just like myself, are a little bit impatient. We want to get it done yesterday. But something that we do a lot is experimenting and testing and learning. So actually having the right process in place and putting something in place, but then experimenting with it and learning fast, I think is critical to any success. I would say most of the most successful businesses over the last 50 years across the globe have one common theme, and that is they test and learn, but they do it at the right pace. And then finally, going back to people, they're super important in the key to your success. So as I talked about with mentoring, creating that safe space, it's important to do that within your business. It creates openness, it creates trust. And if you have motivated people who you can trust, you can overcome any challenge. But again, going back to really testing and learning, having the right environment, the best assets for success. So an example of that is a lot is around tools, so the type of tools you use. So there's a few things. First is the tools that you use for your business. And for example, your communication tools, they have to be reliable. No matter what sector you're in or the area of expertise your business is in, the tools you use and how you communicate, I think, are critical for a successful business. So you have to have something that's reliable. So a connectivity to a service that's reliable. It allows you to be productive, agile as a company. So the right services in the first place are really, really important. So that's reliability. The second piece is around peace of mind. So you need communications that allow you to focus on your business expertise and allow you to be efficient. It's so you can operate a successful business. I've seen so many businesses increase their productivity because they've had the right amount of communication services and ones that offer SLAs. So that's really, really important. It allows you also in your own sector to compete against the competition in a very different way and offer services you possibly wouldn't be able to offer to some customers versus your competition. And then the final thing for me is to discover new ways of working. So having the right communication tools allows you to find new ways to work as well. It gives you that freedom. It increases, no doubt, the order book of any business, and it allows you to start searching a different customer type as well. So I would absolutely say it's really important for the journey of a business owner, the right communications tools, and making those right digital decisions right at the beginning of setting up your own business. And then as your business adapts and grows, it's really, really important you have the right digital and communications tools to be able to do that as well. I think those are the three things for me. So reliability, something that gives you peace of mind, but also allows you to have new ways of working.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I love the idea that you are sort of creating this structure. So, resilience comes from that structure, whether it's the team stuff you talked about or whether it's kind of the tech you use in the communications. It's about, your role as a founder, kind of creating that structure for your team and for your business that will allow it to be resilient and making sure you're investing in that. And I think that's critical. And I think sometimes particularly when you're really starting out, everything is a rush and there's never enough time and there's never enough money. But if you can start to introduce those kind of lightweight processes early on and build on them, whether that's your financial routine or the way you do your marketing, like the more that you can kind of build over time, the more scalable your business becomes. So it's just trying to get sometimes your head out of that sort of hectic day to day to actually do that planning and thinking. I think that's really, really critical too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and finally, so we did briefly introduce the Vodafone the VHub offer, but it'd be lovely to hear in your kind of own words what the opportunity is for businesses and kind of how they can find out more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do. I think you touched on it, Christopher, at the beginning of the session today. There is the website for everybody to go to. That's super important. And please lean into, if you go on to there, please lean into all of the different things it offers. What I would say is go deep into all of those. We also have events over the UK, so keep a lookout for them as well. And genuinely, Vodafone are here to help founders of businesses, small to medium enterprises. All businesses are super important to us. We want people to succeed with us. So please utilise the services we have for our businesses, because we've recognised it's super important that we go beyond and we use the resources we have and share those skills for businesses, whether they're new founders setting up or existing businesses as well.
No, I absolutely love it. And again, just to, if you are interested in that help, it's as simple as go to the Pitch homepage. There's a link there. You can follow through. You just have to put a bit of information in about yourself and kind of what you need help with coaching wise, and you can book a session on the form there. So really easy and straightforward. And it could be like a very specific challenge, like perhaps you have something around marketing KPIs you want to talk about, or maybe something more on the communications that we mentioned earlier. But yeah, do check that out. It's completely free to utilize that service. Finally, Catherine, just wanted to say a huge thank you for you taking the time out to talk to us today.
No, thank you very much, Christopher. It's lovely to meet you, and good luck to everybody. I wish you every success.
Brilliant. Thank